Some brands are making serious money simply because they figured out how to turn a basic page into a silent salesperson working 24/7. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how to build an advertorial page that sells faster and more precisely than a standard landing page, even to cold traffic. And this isn't just theory. This method has been tested and proven, responsible for over 30% of our client sales in recent A/B tests. I'll walk you through this step by step and give you tools to make the process easier. Hey, I'm Igor, founder of Vasta, where we help Shopify store owners convert more visitors into buyers using data-backed CRO strategies. And we've worked with over 450 Shopify stores just like yours. Let me start with a brutal truth. 95% of the advertorials I see out there are complete trash. And you know why? Because people keep treating advertorials like generic landing pages. And here's the deal. A landing page is a clean, direct response page built to push one specific action. Buy now, sign up, click here. Straight to the point. An advertorial, on the other hand, gives the context. It tells a story that connects, digs into the audience's real problem, and introduces a solution. The key difference, a landing page hits the commercial angle head on. A true advertorial, it doesn't look like a sale. It feels like a conversation. It seduces, educates, sparks the right doubt, activates the right desire. And only then, once the mind is warm, it opens a path to conversion. You don't push, you guide. It's invisible persuasion. Now, here's where most people crash and burn, and it's easy to spot. The average conversion rate for cold traffic, somewhere between 1 and 3%, according to e-commerce industry benchmarks. That's low, painfully low. Why? Well, because there's no connection, no real resonance. You're not speaking your audience's language. Let me break down a 10-day performance analysis from one of our clients and show you exactly what our advertorials delivered in real numbers. These 4 advertorials were tested by us, and just the first one alone accounted for nearly 6 figures in revenue. That's massive impact. Meanwhile, you might be spending on meta ads, sending traffic to LPs, paying designers, photographers, video editors, and marketing agencies, and it's all draining your monthly budget while your returns stay low. But the fix might be simpler than you think. The right narrative for cold traffic needs to grab attention, creates a connection, and move the lead without them even realizing it. In practice, an advertorial can, and often should, drive direct sales. We've seen it happen dozens of times with our clients. Sometimes the sale happens right inside the buy box. Of course, it depends on the contacts. We've run campaigns where the advertorial closed the deal right there, using a form, a direct checkout, or a high converting pitch at the end. In others, it was the key piece to figure out which narrative triggered each audience. So think of it like this. The ad grabs attention. The advertorial builds contacts and ignites desire. Then you choose the path. Do you send them to a VSL, drive them straight to checkout, or segment even further based on their behavior? Once you understand this, everything changes. Your click-through rates skyrocket. Your CPL drops hard. But more importantly, you gain deep insights into what actually converts each audience. This is a wartime intelligence applied to traffic. Let me give you a real-world example from another client, a powerhouse in the women's health supplement niche. Their old advertorial worked for a while, but it had overly long copy, a loose structure, and zero compelling storytelling. The result? Weak connections with the audience and warmish conversions. Now, take a look at this page we've tested. Right off the bat, it hits with a bold headline. 8,000 years of evolution, and then came the lies. That hook alone builds tension, it sparks curiosity, and hits the audience right in their pain point. And here's the genius: it doesn't try to sell right away, it pulls you in, it builds a narrative, it sets the contacts with intelligence, and guides the lead by the hand. It's pure storytelling. The buy box appears naturally in the journey. It doesn't interrupt, it doesn't break the flow. It feels like the next logical step in the story. That's why this type of page outperforms traditional ones by 30%, 40%, sometimes even 70% in cold traffic campaigns. Now check this. The first version alone drove a 8.76 lift in conversion rate, 9.93% lift in revenue per visitor, and 8.47% boost in average order value, thanks to buy box subscriptions. Then we tested a second variation we refined, and the results jumped even higher: 10.31% in conversion rate, 10.99% in revenue per visitor, and 9.52% lift in AOV. The bottom line, in just 10 days of testing, those pages drove 31% of total sales and 70% of subscriptions. Same company, same product, same traffic. The only thing that changed was the advertorial structure. It was the approach, the narrative, the angle. And when you change the angle, you change the game. Now that you've locked in the right mindset, let's break down the 4 core pillars every high converting advertorial needs. Pillar 1, avatar. The first pillar is knowing exactly who's on the other side of the screen. There's no point creating a world-class content if you don't know who you're actually talking to. Here's what you need to know about your avatar. What's their deepest pain? Not just the surface level symptom. What language do they use to describe that pain? Where do they consume content? What objections run through their mind? Which voices do they trust and respect? When you truly understand this, your advertorial doesn't talk at them, it talks with them. That's where the magic happens. You instantly hook them and they think, wow, this person gets me. Pillar number 2, problem. The second pillar is stirring the problem before introducing the solution. But here's the key: if you want real attention, you need to create tension. And there's a rule: don't attack the reader, attack the problem. That small distinction is what separates conversions from resistance. Here's a framework that cuts like a razor. Identify the problem. It must be common, but often ignored. Explain why it's getting worse. This builds urgency. Reveal hidden causes. This breaks the reader's mental model. Show what happens if nothing changes. Erase the stakes. And finally, introduce hope with your solution. That famous light at the end of the tunnel. A classic example in the weight loss niche. The real reason 97% of diets fail has nothing to do with willpower. The problem is that the $70 billion diet industry has been lying to you about how fat loss really works. See the move? You take the weight off the reader's shoulders, you defend them, and you point the finger at the real villain: a system, an industry, a widespread misconception. The result? They let their guard down. They feel understood and they follow you to the end. Pillar number 3, product. Cold traffic hates being sold to, but it loves discovering solutions. The difference is how you introduce the product. So here's a wrong way of doing it. And that's how I created my revolutionary course that's already changed over 10,000 lives. Bleh. The right way of doing it would be something like, by trying this different approach, she stumbled on something that changed everything. The method was so simple, she couldn't believe she'd never heard of it before. So here's how to make your product feel like a natural discovery. Weave in into the story, not a sales message. Use third person whenever possible. Someone found it, not I made it. Focus on the transformation, not the features. Make the reader curious about how it works instead of over explaining it. The product should appear as the obvious answer to the problem you've stirred up. Pillar number 4, conversion. Here's a final key. In an advertorial, you don't ask for the sale. You guide the reader to the next logical step in the story. But that step depends on the audience's level of awareness. Dealing with a skeptical lead, using investigative CTA. Targeting curious readers, a discovery CTA works better. Reaching a warm lead, go for a direct action CTA. Here's some soft CTA examples worth testing. See how it works. Find out what this woman uncovered. Watch the free presentation. So here's a pro tip. Write 3 to 5 CTA variations per advertorial. Distribute them across different page versions or traffic segments like interest, gender, age, awareness levels, etc. That way, your CTA becomes a live A/B testing tool, revealing in real time which approach drives more clicks, longer page views, and ultimately more conversions. At the core, this is the truth. Your CTA isn't just a button, it's the next beat in the story, calibrated to each audience. Now that you've got the core concepts down, let me walk you through a step-by-step structure to craft advertorials that actually convert. We'll break it down into 5 key stages. Stage number 1, deep research. First thing first, start by analyzing your current sales page. Take a screenshot, convert it into a PDF, and break it down. What's working, what's not, and where the weak spots are. Then comes the real market research. Not that shallow research everyone does. You need robust, detailed insights on how your customers describe their problem, what solutions they've already tried, their most common objections, what truly motivates them to buy, and the language they use in everyday life. So here's a pro tip. Use tools like ChatGPT to run deep dive research. Craft a specific prompt, asking it to compile all of the above into a document of at least 6 pages or so, and keep that document handy for the next stages. Stage 2, essential docs. With your deep research in hand, it's time to build the foundational documents that will fuel your editorial. These are your go-to reference tools. They'll guide your messaging, structure, and emotional hooks. So you need to create a few documents. So the first one is a customer profile document. Here, you're not just identifying age or gender. You're building a full psychological profile of your core audience. What are their deepest fears, daily frustrations, past attempts that failed, authorities they respect, and specific language they use? In the second document, we can call offer brief, right? So this is where you break down your offer clearly and powerfully. What's the unique mechanism behind your product? Why is it unlike anything else in the market? What specific promise are you making? And how does it connect directly to your avatar's pain? The third document is the necessary beliefs document. This one is critical. List up to 6 beliefs your prospect must hold before they're ready to buy. Structure each one like this. I believe that X, Y, and Z. Example, I believe the problem isn't my fault. I believe there is a real solution out there. I believe this is worth investing in. These beliefs act as invisible switches. Your advertorial's job is to flip each one naturally through story and logic. Stage 3, benchmark. Now, it's time to study advertorials that are already crushing it in your niche. But here's the key. You're not there to copy their words. You're here to decode the structure. Look for high-performing advertorials and analyze a few things. How they open, what hook do they use, how they steer the problem, what story they tell, how they introduce the solution, and what type of CTA they use. It's like funnel hacking them. The secret isn't in the exact copy, it's in the framework behind the message. Stage 4, write. Now it's time to write, but follow a specific process. First, rewrite the advertorial you selected as a reference, but now inject everything from your 4 essential documents. So focus on your core angle. This could be a transformation story, a scientific discovery, a journalistic investigation, an industry secret revealed. Pick one, own it. Write in 2 parts. So part 1 would be hook plus problem agitation plus beginning of the story. Whereas part 2 would be solution plus proof plus CTA. And here's the move. Don't write everything at once. Finish the first half, review it, refine it, then go into the next one. Precision beats speed. Stage 5, chief and cast. Now, it's time to audit your full advertorial against all the documents you've built. Is it aligned with the avatar? Does it plant all the necessary beliefs? Is it written in the right voice and language? Does it follow a proven structure? Is the CTA soft, yet effective? If anything feels off, go back and fix it. Sharpen it. Once your first advertorial is performing, start creating variations with different angles for different audience segments. Same product, new story. Slightly different reader, new hook. Different CTAs, with by box, without it. An advertorial is a strategic terrain scanner. It's where you test angles, fine-tune messaging, and uncover what actually resonates with each slice of your audience. This is where you shift the tone, change the hero, and reframe the core problem. Yes, there is structure, but no rigid rules. Context is king. You don't need to get it perfect on the first shot. You need to start, measure, and optimize, of course. So let's recap what you've just uncovered. Advertorials aren't disguised LPs. They're tools of invisible persuasion that seduce before they sell. There are 4 core pillars behind every winning advertorial: a deep understanding of your avatar, a well-agitated problem, a product that feels like a natural outcome, and finally, a guided conversion path. I gave you a step-by-step game plan, right? Deep research, essential documents, benchmark, write, and chief and test. And most important, the mindset. You don't push the sale. You guide the lead through a meaningful journey that speaks directly to their real pain. This is the map and the method we use at Vasta. So if you have a product with an average ticket above $50, are already running paid traffic and want to boost conversions, I left my contact in the description. Book an audit with me. Let's analyze your funnel, your audience, and deliver a tailored strategy built to scale. If you're still building your business, stick around. All my social links are in the description. I drop content there all the time to help take your online store to the next level. Now, tell me this. What was your biggest insight from this video? Drop in the comments. If this brought you value, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming up next. I'm Igor, and I'll see you in the next video.